welcome to this episode of the weekly News Roundup. We move now to the most important news coming in from Gaza. As the final DNA tests and analysis were done, it was finally confirmed that Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, believed by Israel to be the chief mastermind of the October 7, 2023 terror attack that set off the current war in Gaza, was killed by Israeli forces on October 16th. Many global leaders in the West expressed hope that his death signals the beginning of the end of the war in Gaza and could provide an opportunity for the release of the more than 100 hostages still being held by Hamas. More than 42,000 Palestinians have been killed since Israel's military operation in Gaza began, and nearly all of the Strip's 2.2 million residents are displaced amid a spiraling humanitarian crisis. Yahya Sinwar, also known as the Butcher of Khan Yunis, has been a central figure in Hamas for decades and the most pivotal person behind the October 7, 2023 attack on Israel and the bloody conflict in Gaza that has followed in the year since then. Sinwar was known for his obsessive levels of secrecy and security precautions and was labeled a psychopath by Israeli politicians and security officials. Sinwar's death in an Israeli assault in Gaza fulfilled a promise made by Israeli leaders last year, including Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, who swore they would assassinate him in retribution for the wave of killings and hostage-taking that horrified Israel a year ago. Sinwar was widely believed to be responsible for the decision to take captives back to the Palestinian territory in a move that has irrevocably changed the course of Israeli-Palestinian history. We bring you this report.
There had been significant leads about Sinwar's whereabouts in the past, and even a few moments when US officials believed the Israeli military had gotten close to the terrorist leader. That Sinwar was ultimately killed in an operation that was not intended to target him made the development, coming just days after the one-year anniversary of the start of the Israel-Hamas war, all the more remarkable. President Joe Biden said that for the Israeli people, Sinwar's death was comparable to Osama bin Laden's death for Americans in 2011. Hamas operatives were certain to be reeling from the news and figuring out what's next. Israel's retaliation against Iran for its October 1st missile attack is expected within days, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will need time to determine how to handle the next stage of the Gaza conflict. The Israeli military has released a video that it says shows Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar's final moments. The edited clip shows a drone going into a damaged building where a person who the IDF says is Sinwar can be seen sitting on a chair. The figure's body is positioned away from the drone, but they appear to be looking toward the unmanned craft. The person's face is obscured and he appears to be sitting alone. The drone video shows the figure holding what the IDF highlighted as a piece of wood, which the person lobs in the direction of the drone. Israel says a drone later discovered Sinwar's body in the rubble of the building, which was struck by an Israeli tank on Wednesday. Only after sending in soldiers on foot did the Israeli military identify the man as Hamas's leader. On October 7, 2023, Hamas fighters stormed the border with Israel, killed about 1,200 people, and took back to Gaza at least 240 captives, according to Israeli officials. Israeli society, alongside the country's political and military elite, were largely confounded and deeply shocked. In response, Israel's military campaign in Gaza has killed more than 42,000 Palestinians and injured more than 99,000, according to Gaza's health ministry. Yahya Sinwar was Gaza's leader of Hamas at the time of last year's October 7 attack. In August this year, he took over as the top political leader of the Hamas organization after the assassination of its political leader Ismail Haniyeh in Iran, presumably by Israel. Haniyeh was assassinated when he went to the Iranian capital city of Tehran to attend the swearing-in ceremony of Iran's president, Masoud Pezeshkian. Yahya Sinwar was one of Hamas's few remaining senior officials after the assassinations of Haniyeh, Deputy Political Chief Salah Aruri in January and top military commander Mohammad Deif in July. Israel confirmed the killing of Deif and is presumed to have carried out the other assassinations as well. Hamas officials said that discussions to choose a successor to Yahya Sinwar will begin very soon. The officials said that Khalil al-Hayya, Sinwar's deputy and the group's most senior official outside Gaza, is still considered a strong candidate. Al-Hayya, who is based in Qatar, currently leads the Hamas delegation in ceasefire talks between the group and Israel and possesses a deep knowledge, connection and understanding of the situation in Gaza. In latest news reports coming in, a senior official has confirmed that Hamas intends to elect a new leader in March of next year. But until then, it will be run by a 5-member committee. The committee will be made up of Khalil al-Hayya, Khalid Meshal, Zahir Jabarin, Muhammad Darwish, head of the Shura Council, and a 5th individual whose identity remains undisclosed. The official indicated that Khalil al-Hayya has assumed responsibility for most political and foreign affairs in addition to his direct oversight of Gaza-related matters and is effectively the acting head of the movement.
Search and rescue teams in Nepal's capital Kathmandu have been picking through wrecked homes as floodwaters have started to recede. Officials reported that the death toll from the monsoon floods and landslides had risen to 193 around the Himalayan nation. At least 31 others were missing and many others injured, police said. Entire neighborhoods in Kathmandu were inundated after the heaviest rains in more than 2 decades, with the capital temporarily cut off from the rest of the country after landslides blocked highways. Deadly floods and landslides are common across South Asia during the monsoon season, lasting from June to September. But experts say climate change is making them worse. The International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, a Nepal-based think tank, said the disaster had been made worse by unplanned urban encroachment around the Bagmati River, which courses through the capital. Nepal's army said more than 4,000 people had been rescued using helicopters, motorboats and rafts. We bring you this report.
The number of people killed by flooding and landslides triggered by heavy rainfall over the weekend in Nepal has reached 193, while recovery and rescue work has been stepped up, officials said. A police statement said there were 31 people who were still reported missing and 96 people were injured across the Himalayan nation. Many of the deaths were in the capital Kathmandu, which got heavy rainfall and much of the southern part of the city was flooded. At least 3 buses were stuck in traffic jam, were buried by a landslide that killed 36 people at a point on the highway about 16 kilometers from Kathmandu. Because of the blocked road, people in the buses and other vehicles were sleeping when the landslide buried the vehicles. Bulldozers were being used to clear nearly 24 sections of main highways leading into Kathmandu that had been blocked by debris. Kathmandu had remained cut off all of last week as the 3 highways out of the city were blocked by landslides. Workers were able to temporarily open up the key Prithvi highway, removing rocks, mud and trees that had been washed from the mountains. Nepal's Weather Bureau said preliminary data from stations in 14 districts measured record-breaking rainfall during the floods. A monitoring station at the Kathmandu airport recorded about 9.4 inches of rain, the highest since 2002. The monsoon season brings 70 to 80% of South Asia's annual rainfall, and is vital for agriculture and food production in a region home to about 2 billion people. But monsoon rains also bring widespread death and destruction in the form of floods and landslides. Experts say climate change has worsened their frequency and intensity. More than 300 people have died in Nepal in rain-related disasters this year. More than 3,000 security personnel were deployed to assist rescue efforts with helicopters and motorboats, as large parts of the country have been inundated, including in Kathmandu, the capital city, where at least 34 people were killed. Home Ministry spokesman Rishi Ram Tiwari told AFP news agency that more than 3,000 people have been rescued. Tiwari added that bulldozers were being used to clear several highways that had been blocked by debris, cutting Kathmandu off from the rest of the country. Since Friday evening, all domestic flights out of Kathmandu have been cancelled, affecting more than 150 departures. Police working to clear debris and reopen roads to traffic after landslides blocked highways at 28 locations. The death toll was expected to rise as reports come in from villages across the mountainous country. In the southeast of Nepal, the Koshi River, which causes deadly floods in India's eastern neighbouring state of Bihar almost every year, was running above the danger level, one official said.
We move now to Canada after bombshell accusation from Canadian officials that they believe Indian government agents were linked to a campaign of murder and extortion in the country. Diplomatic relations between India and Canada hit new lows this week. That rift is now raising questions over the impact it could have on the deep trade and immigration ties between both the countries. Bilateral trade is worth billions of dollars, and Canada is home to nearly 10 lakh people of Indian origin. India's envoy to Canada, Sanjay Kumar Verma, who is being expelled over what Ottawa says are links to the murder of a Sikh leader, insisted in an interview he was innocent and said Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had wrecked bilateral political ties, but he added that trade may remain unscathed. Both countries ordered out 6 diplomats in tit-for-tat moves over Ottawa's allegations that New Delhi was targeting Indian dissidents on Canadian soil. Trudeau specifically tied the 6 diplomats to the murder of Sikh separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar last year in British Columbia. The Indian envoy Sanjay Kumar Verma told CTV in an interview that Trudeau had been relying on intelligence rather than hard evidence. Verma said in the interview that was broadcast, "On the basis of intelligence, if you want to destroy a relationship, be my guest." And that's what he did. Asked whether he had anything to do with Nijjar's murder, as claimed by Canada, Verma said, "Nothing at all. No evidence was presented. This is all politically motivated." We bring you this report.
Canada is home to the highest population of Sikhs outside their home state of Punjab, and demonstrations in favor of a separate homeland carved out of India have irked the Indian government. The two countries have been negotiating a bilateral trade deal on and off for over a decade, but Canada paused talks last year shortly before Prime Minister Justin Trudeau first made a public accusation against India. In September 2023, Trudeau said that Canada had credible allegations linking Indian government agents to the murder of Sikh separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar, who was shot and killed in Surrey, British Columbia last June. India temporarily suspended visas for Canadian citizens shortly after, but that move was brief and it resumed visa processing in November. Another big concern is how the rift will alter movement of people between the two countries. India has been Canada's top source of international students since 2018, and about 4% of Canada's overall population is of Indian origin. 4 people have been arrested and charged in connection with Mr. Nijjar's murder, all Indian nationals in their 20s, though it remains unclear if and how they are connected to the Indian government. The Canadian government then went on to name 6 diplomats, including the Indian High Commissioner, as persons of interest to the Canadian government. This would mean that they would be under constant observation by the government. The Indian government responded by recalling all 6 diplomats. We have no faith in the current Canadian government's commitment to ensure their security. Therefore, the Government of India has decided to withdraw the High Commissioner and other targeted diplomats and officials, India's Foreign Ministry said in a statement. India also later retaliated by ordering the expulsion of 6 high-ranking Canadian diplomats, including the acting High Commissioner, and said it had withdrawn its envoy from Canada, contradicting Canada's statement of expulsion. Last Wednesday, Trudeau doubled down on accusations against India, with sharp criticism of Delhi's alleged aggressive interference in Canada's sovereignty. But he also cautioned that he does not want to hurt economic and social ties. Trudeau told a public inquiry looking into foreign interference in the country, "We don't want to be in the situation of picking a fight with a significant trading partner with whom we have deep people-to-people ties and a long history and are fellow democracies." Justin Trudeau admitted that he did not have a single piece of evidence to support his alleged accusation that the government of India was involved in Nijjar's killing.
Their asks of us was, well, how much do you know? Give us the evidence you have on this. And our response was, well, it's within your security agencies. You should be looking into how much they know. You should be engaging. It's, oh, no, tell us what you know. Show us the evidence. And at that point, it was primarily intelligence, not hard evidentiary proof.
India hit back angrily, calling Trudeau's behavior cavalier and accusing Canada of not presenting evidence to back up its accusations. India has many times in the past sent requests to extradite wanted Khalistani terrorists from Canada to India, but all those requests were brushed aside. Canada has for long sheltered anti-India forces, but it remains to be seen how long will it be able to hide behind allegations. Sanjay Verma, the council, said that a Canadian delegation was supposed to travel to India to meet with their counterparts to discuss the allegations. He said the delegation applied for their visas on the day of their supposed departure. No agenda was shared, no prior notice was given. He said it was an intentional move to ensure no cooperation would take place. He said it was a setup intended as a ploy to paint India in a bad picture.
No evidence presented, politically motivated. If they have evidence of what we have coerced, which can be legally accepted, why are they not sharing it? What happens to India will be decided by Indians. These Khalistani terrorists and extremists who are based out of Canada are not Indians, they are Canadian citizens, and no government should encourage their citizens to attack sovereignty and territorial integrity. Canada didn't follow the practice which should have been there. Evidence should have been shared first, but someone decided to stand in the parliament and talk about a thing for which he himself has said there was no hard evidence. And the day on which he did that, since then, he has made it show that the bilateral relation with India only goes downwards, spiraling. They wanted to leave for India on the 8th of October. They gave their completed application form only on the 8th of October. So visa needs to be affixed. For any delegation, government delegation to travel to another country, you need an agenda to go by. There was no agenda at all. Agenda was shared at the last moment, I believe, even after the flight would have departed. So I think it was pre-planned. They knew that the visa cannot be issued in half an hour to an hour, and therefore they did it. I think it was absolutely politically motivated.
Hardeep Singh Nijjar was one of many India-designated Khalistani terrorists responsible for inciting violence against India. The question is, why has Justin Trudeau chosen to jeopardize his relations with India to favor Khalistani terrorists? Is it about vote bank politics, since Indians make up a sizable portion of the population? While India has tried to tone down the rhetoric, Canada has chosen to escalate the situation by dragging relations with India down into a deep freeze. The question is, Will Justin Trudeau be able to confront the dangerous forces that he is harboring within his own borders? India is not backing down, and the world is watching.
We move now to Bangalore, which is facing the fury of rains. Heavy rains have wreaked havoc across Karnataka, with cloudy conditions continuing. The capital city, Bengaluru, is the worst affected, and farmers throughout the state are fearing losing crops that are ready for harvest. A downpour on Monday and sharp spells of rain on Tuesday resulted in the breach of at least 2 lakes in the Yelahanka area of North Bengaluru, which resulted in the flooding of several parts and massive traffic snarls. With an orange alert in place for Bengaluru, the Karnataka government has issued an advisory to all tech companies in the region and the city to allow their employees to work from home. A holiday was also declared for schools in Bengaluru. The rain on Monday in Bengaluru broke the record for the highest daily rainfall received by a weather station in the city, registering 186.2 millimeters of rainfall at the Indian Meteorological Department GKVK station. The heavy rainfall in a short period on Monday has resulted in the breach of the lakes in the region, a city official said. The highest recorded rainfall in Bengaluru was on October 1st, 1997, when parts of the city received 178.9 millimeters of rainfall. The thunderstorm was described as a cloud-burst-like situation, as it crippled many parts of North Bengaluru due to overflowing lakes and waterlogging at residential areas and roads. We bring you this report.
The Kendriya Vihar apartment complex in Yelahanka was inundated with 2 to 3 feet of water from the Kogilu lake. Residents had to be rescued by State Disaster Response Force (SDRF) and National Disaster Response Force (NDRF) personnel in lifeboats. Several vehicles of residents were damaged. The lake bund of the Dodda-Bommasandra lake had breached for the first time in the last 17 to 18 years, said Revenue Minister Bairagowda, whose constituency is in the region. Due to this, water has entered low-lying areas around Kodigahalli. The storm water drains too overflowed and entered layouts, he said. Reacting to the situation, Chief Minister Siddaramaiah stated in Mysuru on Tuesday, "We have taken measures and are prepared to provide relief for the damage caused by the heavy rains and natural disasters." Speaking to the media at his residence, CM Siddaramaiah added, "We are closely monitoring the rain-related disasters. All preparations have been made and site surveys are underway. We will provide the necessary relief." Bengaluru has seen several low-lying areas submerged, severely disrupting daily life. Traffic in the city has been badly affected, with potholes resurfacing on major roads, making it particularly challenging for two-wheeler rides. The movement of cars and heavy vehicles has also been hampered due to both potholes and flooding. Traffic police have been deployed at major intersections to ensure a smoother flow of vehicles and prevent jams. In Yelahanka, homes in low-lying areas are struggling with waterlogging. Yelahanka Old Town Road has been submerged. Authorities are using cranes to remove vehicles from the roads to clear traffic. In Chikkabommasandra, more than 60 houses has been flooded, while in Ambedkar Nagar, rising water levels have forced residents, including children, to evacuate their homes, causing major inconvenience and putting their safety at risk. A cloudy atmosphere continued in the Bengaluru city and heavy rains are predicted. The authorities have been asked to be prepared to face any eventuality. In another tragic news coming in, at least 15 labourers have died in a building collapse that is being blamed on the heavy rainfall as well. The labourers were working in an under-construction building in East Bengaluru and were trapped under the construction as the entire building came crashing down. Around 20 workers were rescued from the site. Rescue operations are continuing with the SDRF and the NDRF. Minister D.K. Shivkumar, who was reviewing the operations, said that illegal activities were going on. So far from the news that is coming in, permissions were given for construction only till the 4th floor, but the construction went on to higher floors. The minister said that strict action would be taken against everyone involved in the building collapse.
Thanks so much for watching this episode. Until we meet next time, stay blessed.